Making a video. Yeah, so I thought I'd play with this phrase. I didn't really do a proper response to Anna Kontavad's desire messes up the free will thing, and I thought I would play some more. Excuse me, my ears were so much better. Now they seem to have lost their usefulness once again. Anyway, that the consciousness is just a noise that the brain makes. Idea. And I like that metaphor. I like that way of understanding that it's real. It's a real noise, but it's not the real function of the brain. The real function is just action. And all of that is not within the control of anything we can easily identify in terms of a you, a thing, an entity. It's a bunch of mechanisms, a bunch of gear work, inside your brain, your subconscious gear work, and it produces the manifestation of you-ness as an experience made out of these thought concepts and the feelings that go with them, and which are generated through the sense organs when they can manage to function properly. Which mine aren't doing lately. That's like a kind of odd thing. You must have a tube problem too. Anyway, yeah. It's been one of those days. Jesus. I had to fight with a sump pump all morning. I hate sump pumps. Yeah, I really do. I really have learned to hate them with a passion. Stupid, lousy. I've been just unlucky. Some people buy one, it lasts for 10 years. No matter which one I get, new or used, or however I get it, it's just somehow manages to turn into a piece of shit. So anyway, I got 3 of them I gotta fix now. Anyway, but that'll give me something else to do that I don't want to do. Oh, fuck. Anyway, maybe I can do a video on that. Sump pump repair. Yeah, there'll be a lot of duct tape involved, I'm sure. Anyway, one of them blew up entirely, fell right apart. So that's, I'll just put it back together and pour some oil in it and see what the fuck happens, I suppose. Anyway, I'm really off the subject, aren't I? Yes, I am. Just explain, I'm having one of those days. Desire. So all of our feelings are very strange things. We feel them strangely. They have an erroneously, ambiguously, they're just weird, just by their nature to us. We don't experience them and say, I can explain that exactly. I can perfectly describe what I just felt. No, hard to do. But that doesn't mean that our brain doesn't understand them completely. Our brain created them. Our brain threw a bunch of code into the let's call it the mixing bowl, or whatever you want to call it, the consciousness, the place. It threw the crap into the place, but it knew what crap it threw in there. And in a sense, it threw it in there just because it wants to do math. And so the place it mixes things, it wants to do the math. So it threw in code 48, which means sore toe. And then it threw in emotion. Oh, I haven't been getting any lately. Some kind of bullshit like that. Code 88. Threw in a bunch of codes, and then the codes mixed together in our consciousness. I want to be a good person. I need ego gratification. I need sensual gratification. I'm dissatisfied with my current status in life. Blah, 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 blah. So it throws all that mishmash in there and just says, okay, make an output. Make a sum. Add it up. And make some, boop, 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 I'll do something. And that's what it does. That's all there is. So from the brain's perspective, it's just a place it uses to do its math. And I've sort of explained that it does it this way because it needed to create a plus and a minus in terms of a concept. It had to have the utility of being able to declare something good and something bad so it could orchestrate behavior. And obviously the end result of the DNA molecule is survival. And through experience, 4 billion years of it, it acquires an understanding, quote unquote, of what survival requires. And so it knows that these certain things need to be incentivized as trends. It wants you to have the trend of, not tripping over stuff, not doing damage to yourself, not this, not that. So it creates a sense mechanism that makes you capable of avoiding harm by creating attractive and repulsive, and by creating, look out, negative, run away, get away, pull that knife out of your ass. It creates mechanisms that incentivize us. That is, one part of the brain communicates to the other part of the brain through the mixing bowl. The input comes in, the brain adds flavor, and then the output is decided based on the total mix and what it has established as, what that mixture means in terms of a behavior scenario. And so it's just a way for elements of the brain, a place for elements to communicate with each other. It's their medium of communication is through this mechanism we call consciousness. But they're not reading your consciousness. They're not saying, they're not, it's your body is not reacting to what you're actually conscious of. It's just reacting to what it has put in terms of a hormone or, your adrenaline or some other thing. So it's reacting more viscerally to what's in the mixing bowl, and you're left with the noise, the vibration. So just this noise of an engine doesn't have much to do with function. I mean, you can hear the valves ticking, tick, 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 tick. You can hear some things going on, but generally speaking, the noise doesn't give you an accurate representation of what the mechanical device is actually doing. It just gives you a sense of it, a piece of it represented. And that's what we're experiencing, is a piece of our brain's function, a piece of the mixing bowl that has this important plus and minus thing added in. The mechanism that creates the motivational engines, that fuels the engines. But it's just a manifestation of it. It's not really how it works. The brain's working on a whole different kind of code than we are experiencing. It's just that the two are parallel. The engine, as you rev the engine louder, the sound changes. And it's sort of how our consciousness works. And sometimes there's inverse relationships. Sometimes it runs quieter when you're running it harder or faster. And we sort of experience that sometimes when we're really preoccupied with something. Our consciousness gets quite quiet. It gets quite hummy. Yeah, it's not ironic that would be the statement, because the sound does get quiet, does get less noise in it, less eccentricity, and so that's it's obviously it's not very intuitive to experience consciousness and say, oh, that's not what the brain is really doing, because you're saying, wow, this is such a big thing. This must be something the brain does on purpose. But I think the truth is, I think the evidence indicates that this isn't the purpose. This isn't the function. The function is just to create a place, to create feedback, to create an instrumentality that allows a reaction to action, a constant reaction to action. And that this is just what you get as a byproduct. The byproduct of turning the action to reaction feedback engine crank gets you this experience as a byproduct. It's the noise the brain will make as it ka-chunk, chunk, chunk, as it grinds experience, as it grinds pixels and electricity and different interactions with the material and energetic universe. As it combines those inputs, this ka-chunk sound is what you get as the byproduct. So anyway, that's why I would say that although you are correct in even I would say that feelings have a way weirdness about them that doesn't fit with any kind of notion of explicit, technical, exact. They feel inexact. They feel incredibly analog, like lots of noise in the signal kind of thing. But from the brain's perspective, the workings of your brain, it's all very exact. It's all highly technical in terms of the values applied. There may well be some byproduct in the conscious experience that's totally ignored, by the reactive subconscious brain, in the sense that it does seem to prioritize experiences very different sometimes than you personally experience them. Sometimes little events have a big impact in your life, in your psychology. Your brain goes back to them over and over again, where you will sometimes, your brain seems totally oblivious to what your logic says should be incredibly significant events in your life. And just because of the nuance of the triggers, the emotional and biological, hormonal triggers the brain looks for to create important memories, they weren't there for that experience because of some distraction or some special circumstance or medication or some other thing. And so that those experiences, although they were very noisy in your consciousness, they weren't very noisy, they weren't very loud, they weren't very interesting from your brain's stored memory perspective. From its standards of what's an interesting happening, it didn't even feel like turning the camera on. And so there's probably some aspect of that does take place where, we can remember a conscious experience that was worth remembering, but we are barely holding on to it. Our brain will barely cling to it. We can barely resolve it. It's such a weak memory. And then we have incredibly strong memories about inane, silly crap. Where we were sitting in a chair reading a book. And we remember what we were smelling and what we were tasting and what we were feeling. Quite a bit of rich detail. For some reason, the brain captured all of that, recorded every bit of it, because it triggers said this is important. And so we can sort of see that that's the subconscious is grinding different than your what you sense as a logical thinking machine. And so your logic doesn't necessarily fit your abstract logic with the internal logic of your subconscious. It's your subconscious is definitely a logical engine. It's just that its logic has a different foundation and basis than what you have concluded in your model of yourself, in your perception of yourself, your abstract held intelligent notion of yourself isn't accurately identifying what's really moving you, the psychology. Yeah. Boy, you go on forever on this subject. I mean, I just touched on the word psychology, and so you can start a whole bunch on the difference between the philosophical or abstract modeling of your own psychology and the actual psychology, what actually you react to. Because the two personalities are always very different, at least in my case, not always. My philosophical disposition is quite ordered and disciplined and reasonable, but my psychology is so passionate and obnoxious and unyielding and unforgiving and all that crap. So it's a strange disconnect. So anyway, till the next time and such, so forth and whatnot. Long day already. Only half over. Until next time.